There comes a moment in every woman's story when she realizes the energy between you has fundamentally changed. It's not a dramatic breakup, no explosive argument, just a quiet shift in your presence. Your replies grow shorter, your tone loses its warmth, and the emotional investment she once relied on begins to fade. At first, she might not even recognize it consciously, but somewhere deep inside, she feels that the connection isn't what it used to be. Women are wired to detect subtle emotional shifts. She notices when your texts no longer carry the same enthusiasm, when your voice lacks the playful edge it once had. She might brush it off at first, telling herself you're just busy or tired. But as the pattern continues, doubt creeps in. The reassurance she once took for granted, the consistent attention, the effort starts slipping away, and with it, her sense of security in the dynamic. She tests the waters, trying to gauge whether she's imagining things. Maybe she'll send a flirty message or a nostalgic throwback, hoping to reignite the spark. If she's prideful, she'll pretend not to care, matching your energy with an air of indifference. But beneath the surface, her mind races. Why isn't he reaching out like before? Why do I feel like I'm the one chasing now? The roles have reversed, and it unsettles her in a way she can't ignore. What makes this moment so pivotal is that it forces her to confront an uncomfortable truth. You're no longer orbiting her world with the same intensity which she was used to being the sun in your universe, the one whose presence dictated your mood, your attention, your effort. But now, you've stepped back, and the sudden lack of that gravitational pull leaves her unbalanced. This isn't about manipulation or mind games. It's the natural consequence of emotional detachment when a man stops feeding energy into something that no longer serves him. And for her, that shift is louder than any argument. Fights mean you care, silence means you're moving on. That's what shakes her the most, realizing that the man who once made her feel like a priority is now someone she can't quite reach anymore. The script has flipped, and in that moment, she's faced with a choice: reflect on what went wrong, or scramble to regain control. But one thing is certain, she'll never look at you the same way again. A woman's ego thrives on certainty, the unspoken assurance that your attention is hers to command. She's accustomed to the rhythm of pursuit, your texts lighting up her phone first thing in the morning, the way you hang on her every word, the unmistakable energy of a man thoroughly captivated. This dynamic forms the bedrock of her security in the connection. But when that rhythm falters, when the predictable patterns of your affection become inconsistent, something primal awakens within her. It's not just confusion, it's a tremor. In the foundation of how she understands her own desirability, the shift happens in stages. First comes denials. She convinces herself you're just distracted, that this is temporary. Then comes testing. She might withdraw slightly herself, expecting you to notice and come rushing back as you always have before. But when you don't take the bait, when your energy remains steady and undisturbed, that's when the real panic sets in. Her mind becomes a battlefield between pride and fear, between the need to maintain appearances and the growing terror that she's losing her grip on you. This is where you see her true colors emerge. An emotionally mature woman might turn inward, examining her own behavior for clues about what changed. But more often, you'll witness the defensive mechanisms kick in, the sudden accusations you've changed. The guilt trips, I guess you don't care anymore, or the classic pivot to anger as a way to mask vulnerability. Some will employ more sophisticated tactics, strategically reappearing in your orbit with carefully curated glimpses into their lives. It's designed to provoke a reaction. The irony is palpable. It's the same woman who once rationed her attention now finds herself calculating how long to wait before responding to your messages, analyzing every word of your brief replies for hidden meaning. The power dynamic has invisibly shifted, not because you played games, but because you genuinely stepped back. And in that space created by your absence, she's confronted with an uncomfortable revelation. Her value in your eyes wasn't fixed or guaranteed. It was something she needed to continually earn. This chapter of the dance reveals a fundamental truth about human nature. We only truly question what we might lose when we feel it slipping away. Her ego trembles not because you've rejected her, but because you've shown her that your attention, once given freely, now comes with conditions. And in that realization lies the most terrifying question of all. Was it ever really her that you wanted, or just the way she made you feel about yourself? The answer to that question determines whether she'll fight to keep you, or simply fight to preserve her own self-image. The silent treatment is a weapon many try to wield. But true indifference can't be fake tits. Either there, or it isn't. When a man genuinely detaches, his silence carries a different weight than anger ever could. Anger still says, "You matter enough to upset me." Silence whispers, "You no longer occupy space in my mind." This distinction cuts deeper than any argument, because while fights follow a predictable script escalation, resolution make-up silence offers no such closure. It's an open-ended question mark that gnaws at her psyche. Women are natural storytellers, especially when it comes to emotional narratives. When you go quiet, her mind fills the void with increasingly dramatic interpretations. At first, she'll tell herself you're playing games. Then she'll wonder if you've moved on to someone else. Eventually, she'll start replaying every interaction, searching for the moment she lost you. This mental spiral is more effective than any confrontation because you're not giving her anything to push against just empty space where your attention used to be. The absence becomes a mirror, forcing her to confront uncomfortable truths about her own behavior. Some will break first, testing the waters with, "Are you mad at me?" texts or sudden bursts of vulnerability. Others will try to provoke a reaction through jealousy, mentioning other guys, posting suggestive photos. But these tactics only work on men who are still emotionally invested. When met with genuine detachment, her attempts at manipulation echo into nothingness, leaving her stranded in the uncomfortable reality that she can't control your feelings anymore. The real power of silence lies in what it reveals. An emotionally intelligent woman will use this space for self-reflection. But those accustomed to controlling relationships through drama will unravel spectacularly, exposing their true nature through increasingly desperate bids for attention. Either way, your silence acts as an X-ray, showing exactly where her priorities lie, whether she genuinely misses you or just misses the security of your devotion. This dynamic works because it bypasses words altogether, speaking directly to her subconscious fears. While arguments engage her emotionally, silence starves those emotions until all that's left is raw truth. And in that truth, she'll either find the motivation to change or the confirmation that she was never really invested in the first place, just in the validation you provided. Either outcome gives you the clarity you need to move forward. The moment a woman senses your emotional withdrawal, her entire nervous system kicks into high alert. It's not just about missing your attention, it's about confronting the terrifying possibility that she might have lost something irreplaceable. Scarcity triggers something primal in the human psyche, and when applied to relationships, it creates an almost magnetic pull. The less available you become, the more her mind races to fill the void with questions, doubts, and ultimately obsession. Initially, she'll respond with subtle tests, maybe a late night you up text, or a nostalgic reference to an inside joke. These aren't genuine attempts at connection, so much as probes to gauge whether she still has access to your emotional energy. When these gentle pings don't yield the desired reaction, the tactics escalate. Some women will suddenly become hyperavailable, flooding your phone with messages after weeks of indifference. Others will deploy the nuclear option, disappearing entirely, betting that your silence is just a bluff that will crack under the weight of her absence. But here's where most men fail. They mistake this temporary surge of attention for real change. They see her suddenly texting first, asking deep questions, or reminiscing about old memories, and assume she's finally seen the light. What they don't realize is that this is just another phase of the test. One last attempt to see if she can still reel you back in on command. The woman who truly values you won't just mirror your energy temporarily. She'll demonstrate consistent effort over time, without slipping back into old patterns the moment she feels secure again. The paradox of scarcity is that it reveals more about her than it does about you. A woman who's only interested in validation will eventually move on when she realizes your attention isn't returning to its previous levels. But one who genuinely sees your worth will sit with the discomfort of your detachment and use it as motivation to improve how she shows up in the relationship. Your silence becomes the litmus test that separates those who miss you from those who simply miss being wanted. Ultimately, this chapter isn't about playing hard to get it. It's about allowing natural consequences to unfold. When you stop rewarding inconsistency with attention, you force her to confront a simple but profound choice. Either step up or step aside. Either outcome brings clarity, and in that clarity, you find your power. The final stage of detachment isn't marked by fireworks or dramatic confrontations. It arrives as a quiet certainty, fundamental rewiring of your emotional circuitry. You wake up one morning and realize her opinion no longer shapes your mood. The texts that once sent your heart racing now barely warrant a glance. This isn't indifference born from bitterness, but from a profound realization you've outgrown the version of yourself that needed her validation to feel whole. Women sense this shift on a cellular level. Where before she could provoke a reaction with a well-timed message or social media post, now her attempts land on barren soil. The games that once worked how-tangled behavior, jealousy, baiting, manufactured drama suddenly seem transparent and tiresome. This is when she faces the ultimate mirror, not of your indifference, but of her own emptiness, when stripped of the power to affect you. The dynamic has permanently changed, not because you engineered it, but because you genuinely moved on. Some women will respond to this finality with surprising maturity. The same person who once took you for granted may reappear with genuine accountability, having used the space to reflect and grow. But more often, you'll witness one last desperate performance, grand gestures, tearful confessions, or sexual overtures that feel strangely hollow. These aren't rebirths, but death throes of the old dynamic. The difference now? You can see them for what they are. True closure doesn't come from her acknowledgement or apology. It comes from within. You stop searching for hidden meanings in old conversations. The memories that once ached now feel like stories about someone else's life. Even if she were to return tomorrow, offering everything you once wanted, it would land differently. Not because you're jaded, because you've built something more valuable in her absence, a self-sufficiency that no relationship can threaten. This final chapter isn't about winning or losing, it's about liberation. The woman who once held your emotions hostage now exists only as a footnote in your evolution. And when she realizes you've truly detached not just from her, but from the need for any woman to complete you, that's when she understands the rarest truth of all. Some men aren't meant to be kept, only appreciated before they outgrow what no longer serves them.